Hey everybody, Ryan here from Ryan Hockey Channel. Alright, going to be going over my 2021-2022 NHL season predictions. Now this is just covering where I think the teams will finish in their respective divisions, since they're back to their old divisions. No longer a Canada-only division, which is unfortunate. That was actually kind of fun to watch, but hey, we're back to our old divisions, what we know. And also, going to go over my predictions for the playoffs. Alright, let's get started. Oh, before we get any further than the Atlantic Division, let's just start off with this. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be notified when I drop a new video, and also make sure to share the video, and make sure to let me know what you think in the comments. If you agree with my predictions, if not, let me know what yours are. Alright, let's get started. Also be civil. Alright, let's get started. In the Atlantic, I am predicting the last place team to be the Buffalo Sabres. There is absolutely nothing anybody could tell me right now. I don't care what they say. Oh, they did all right at the end of the season last year. Oh, well, that's great. That's the end of last season. This is this season. They may have a new coach. I don't think it's going to make a difference at all. This team is just not built well. They're not in a good place. They have a lot of dysfunction going on. And I don't think this is going to be a good season for this team at all. Now, I'm not trying to rag on Buffalo fans. I'm not doing that. It's just going to be a rough season. I'm just preparing you for the worst here. Now, is there a chance they get surprised? I'm sure there is a minute chance, but as my head keeps telling you right now, there's just no way this team is going to surprise at all. At number 7, I have the Ottawa Senators. I was hopeful this team would turn it around this year, but they have a few problems already. I mean, they don't have Brady Tkachuk under contract, and they don't have a captain right now. Not that that's a huge deal, but that's probably related to the fact that Tkachuk is not signed, which tells me they probably want to make Tkachuk the captain when he signs. So, there's that. And also, they're missing Colin White for the first 4 to 6 months, which is pretty much the whole season. So that doesn't hurt. Austin Watson's out for about a month, so already right there, your center depth is looking pretty light at this point. But still, I mean, I think they'll have an offense going, pretty decent offense going on. It's the defense did not improve. The goaltending definitely did not improve. So I just don't see his team going very far. I mean, they'll be better in Buffalo. They should be better in Buffalo, at least. So, I guess not finishing last is a nice thing, too. On to Detroit at number 6. This team has made strides. I mean, they are not at a point where they're going to fight for a playoff spot yet. Not there yet. I mean, if Maurice Seider plays the whole year, that could definitely help their defense. But this team still is not built for a great offense at this point. Having Lucas Raymond play this year may help. Hopefully it does. But this team definitely is a team that's going to be a force in the future, just not now. So I think there'll be somewhat of a step up, but not enough at this point. And they have some pretty good teams at the top of this division, so it's going to be a tough fight to get into there. Number 5, I have Montreal. Now, I want to say Montreal's going to finish higher in this, and they could. I definitely could see Montreal finishing better than 5th in this division. The biggest problem for me is the goaltending. Carey Price, if Carey Price was healthy, I'd say his team would be in the playoffs. Carey Price being where he is right now, not knowing how long he's going to be out for, it's hard to say Jake Allen's going to carry this team. I mean, he's not a terrible goalie. I mean, at least not Martin Jones, I guess. But I just can't see Jake Allen carrying this team far. They missing Shea Weber the entire season. I mean, they lost Tatar. Drouin's back. I'm not sure how much of a difference that will make. But having a full season of Cole Caulfield, that could help too. Definitely would help the offense. Losing Deneau definitely, I think, hurts the defensive portion of this team on the offensive side. So, all those intertwined, I'm going to put this team at 5th as of now. If Price ends up not missing much time and comes back playing like he did in the playoffs, then this team is going to be a force to reckon with. But if he does not and he comes back not what he was before, then it could be even worse. So hopefully he is back to being himself. That would be good. I mean, not to say that he lost, it's just with what's going on with him. Hopefully he fixes himself first before he worries about hockey. That's the main concern for him. Alright, moving on. Boston is who I have at fourth. This team, I'm still not sure Olmark is going to be the guy to carry them into the playoffs, but I think they will make the playoffs. They still have a pretty good team. The offense, they did not improve the offensive depth, I don't think, but they still have a bunch of young guys who could fill in and maybe help with that. Hopefully help with that. Still not sure why they didn't keep Nick Ritchie of all their guys they let go this year, but they didn't. So they moved on from him, and he had a decent year last year. I was really surprised by it, but I see his team being about this spot. I mean, they've had some injury problems the last couple of years, and hopefully they don't have those, but if they do, then that could just even drop them further, honestly. I mean, that top line, we know they're going to be beasts, and Bergeron on a contract year, you know he's going to have a good offensive year. Defensively, they're pretty good defensively. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the number one defense by any stretch, but it's definitely not the worst defense. So, between that and goaltending, I want to say it's going to be a little bit more suspect than the last couple of years, but honestly, their defense didn't get weaker from last year. It may have got a little bit better, but I still don't see his team being better than the other three teams in this division. Let's move on to the next one. Tampa Bay, the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion. Now, they took some hits this offseason. They definitely did. I mean, their defense is definitely, I don't think, as strong this year. Their bottom line in the offense is not as strong. They lost Goodrow. They lost Blake Coleman. They've now lost one of the forwards that they were hoping to fill in a role, even though they're sent down to minors to start the year, Alex Barré-Boulet. So, this team, offensive depth, I think, is a worry. Defensive depth, a worry. And we know their main guys have had some injury issues in the last year, or for the last about decade for Steven Stamkos. But I think this team should still be good enough to make the playoffs easily. And even, I mean, you have the best goalie in the world. It's pretty hard not to be up there anyways, even if your defense isn't up to task to be the best defense. Vasilevsky's still one of the best goaltenders. Hard to say this team is not going to make the playoffs. Number 2, I had Toronto. Now, Toronto, I don't know what you can say about Toronto that isn't said already in their media. I mean, this team has the talent, does not seem to have the killer instinct to get the victories when it matters most. They can win in the regular season, easy enough. They have great offense, their defense is good enough. Their goaltending, we'll see how it goes this year. I'm still not sold on Campbell being the number one starter for an entire 82-game season. I think that may be a bit much, but we'll see how their goaltending goes this year. It could be really good, or it could be really bad. We'll have to see. I mean, Campbell, I think, is a good enough goaltender for sure. So, we'll see how it goes. So, that's all I got for that. So, let's move on to the number 1 Atlantic team. That would be the Florida Panthers. This team has definitely improved. Getting Sam Reinhart definitely helps the offense. They re-signed pretty much everybody. I'm not sure they really lost anything. I mean, getting Aaron Ekblad healthy again definitely improves the defense by himself right there. Goaltending-wise, Bobrovsky's still a question mark, but if he falters, they have Spencer Knight to fall back on this year. So, hopefully the rookie lives up to his potential. I mean, maybe not this year, but he still, I think, will have a very good year. So, keep an eye out for him, because he may end up being the starter, and the $10 million Bobrovsky will be a backup. That's what I think will end up happening. But Either way, I see Florida being probably the top team in this division. Now on to the Metropolitan Division. I have Columbus at 8th. I have a hard time seeing this team beating out many teams in this division. I mean, well, they win games. Of course, they'll win games. Every team wins. I mean, dumb luck will get you games. In 82 games, dumb luck has to win you at least a few games, right? But this team, they have some potential. It's just, I don't see them being the team they were 2 years ago. I don't see them accomplishing that. So that's why I'm putting them 8th. I mean, I don't think Line A is going to help them much. And I honestly can see Line A being moved if they can find a taker. But I don't think they're going to at this point. I mean, let's see what happens. I think teams will take Line A. It's just, I have a feeling they're going to want a lot for him. Number 7 would be New Jersey. New Jersey's going to take a little bit of a step forward. Baby steps. It's going to be a baby step. They're going to improve upon what they did last year. I think their young guys are going to take the next step. I mean, having Heischer healthy all year would definitely help. I mean, they missed him for a good chunk of the season last year. I mean, the biggest question mark is Mackenzie Blackwood. Is he going to get the COVID shot to play? Is he not? That's the big question. What's going to happen? Because, I mean, Mackenzie Blackwood is definitely their number 1. So, I mean, you definitely hope in this situation that he can play this season for you. So, I mean, that will be a big decider as well. But I think this team all around has improved. Dougie Hamilton on defense should make them a better offensive decor. And honestly, having Jack Hughes continue his development will definitely help. So, keep an eye on this team. I mean, not now, not next year, but sometime in the near future, this team should be fighting for playoff spots again. On to number 6, I have Carolina. I have a hard time buying into Carolina this season. Last year, I had them, I believe, top of this division or top of their division because divisions were different. But I have a hard time buying it. They lost a lot. They overturned their goaltending completely. Their defense, they took some hits. Their offense, they took some hits. I have a hard time buying into this team being as good as they were last year. No, I mean, they may not finish as low as I have them. It's just, I see them not being as good as the other 5 teams in front of them. I just don't at this point. I could be surprised. It is only my predictions. It's not what's going to happen. So, because usually with predictions, it's usually the other way of how you do things. So, or the other way of how you say things. So, we'll keep an eye on it. Number 5, I have Pittsburgh. Now, they're going to be missing Malkin and Crosby to start the season. That will hurt. Because I'm not sure this team has the offense, the defense, maybe the goaltending. But that'd be about the only bright spot. Because the offense and goal and defense are hurting right now. And I don't think losing those two is going to help anything. So I think this team's going to take a step back this year. So we may be getting closer towards a Pittsburgh rebuild again. But we'll have to see, because maybe they could pull themselves out of it, especially those two come back ready to go and they start decimating teams. I mean, they're both getting up there in age now. I mean, they're not the 20, 25-year-olds that we remember in the past. But, I mean, they both can still provide a lot of offense when they're healthy. And that's the big thing, especially for Malkin, is when healthy. So, that's just where I see Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh fans, that's not what you want to see, but everybody has to have bad years eventually, right? Number 4, I have Washington. I think Washington's going to start the season off not so great. I mean, they are going to be missing, as news came out today, Backstrom for the first month at least of the season. So that's going to take a hit on this team, I think, because their center depth is already lacking, and if Kuznetsov cannot return to his previous form, their center depth is going to be shot, and it's going to hurt to begin the season. But I still think this team will rebound enough to get a playoff spot. I really do see them getting there at least. Number 3, I have the New York Rangers. They're going to take a big step in their development. I think their young guys are going to take that next step, and they're going to make the playoffs this year. I said that last year too. Did not come to fruition. because Lafreniere did not provide what I think anybody expected from a number 1 overall pick. But you know what? He is only 19, so maybe 20. Is he 20 now? 19 or 20. But anyways, this team's going to take the next step. They're going to make the playoffs. I have no doubt about that. So let's see what they can do. Number 2, I have the New York Islanders. I know a lot of teams picked them to be top in this division, and honestly, I had a hard time picking them for this spot. I wanted to put them lower, but this is a very good defensive team, and it's hard to say that they can't make the playoffs. I think they're good. They're a good enough team to make the playoffs, and I think they'll make some noise in the playoffs, honestly, because their defensive play, I think they'll be a very good team. I mean, it'd be nice to see them get somebody to play with Barzal to make him take that next leap in his development to that massive superstar that he potentially can be. I mean, if he were playing with something like, I bet you put him with like McDavid, I don't ever want to play against that team. But you're never going to see that because they're both too expensive. But still, just as an example, I mean, you put him with someone really good like that, another superstar, he's going to take that next step and be just an offensive dynamo. Because look at him when he was with Tavares. They were amazing together. And, of course, Tavares left, which, I'm sorry to bring the old wound up Islanders fans. I know. But it's taken him a step back in his offense the last couple of years. But he still is an offensive dynamo. So I still think they're going to finish number 2, and they're going to make some noise in the playoffs, as you'll see in the predictions. Number 1, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. This is the other year, because they are every other year playoff team. Last year, no playoffs. This year, playoffs. And I think they'll win this division just based off of the fact Giroux is in a contract year. He's going to have a hell of a season. And you know what? Their offense, they have a lot of really good young talent who is now ready. They're going to be chipping in, and their defense has improved for sure. I mean, getting Ryan Ellis and Rasmus Dahlin, not Dahlin, sheesh, Rasmus Ristolainen, sorry about that. Wrong name. Do not think Dahlin is on this team. He is not. But Rasmus Ristolainen, that definitely is going to help this defense for sure. So, and hopefully the biggest thing for me is I think Carter Hart is going to come back and be that number 1 goalie again. He had a bad year last year. You know what? Sometimes you have those. Just write it off, move on, keep playing, keep developing, and I think he'll be there this year. And you know what? He's going to have it this year, and I think they're going to be a very good team for it. On to the West Division. Number 8. This hurts me so much to pick my own team to be last. Oh, the Ducks. Come on, man. Still, I mean, I think they'll take some steps forward this year. I think their young guys will take a step forward because, my God, quite a few of them, if they don't take a step forward, move on. Because, I mean, Stam Steele, you've had 2 full seasons now. This is your 3rd one. You got to take that step forward. Troy Terry, same thing. Isaac Lundstrom, you're still only about 21, so you got a little bit more time. But still, you got to take that next step. I mean, you got Mason McTavish knocking at the door, and last I had heard as of this recording on the 12th at 12 noon, I have not heard about him being sent to juniors or where they're going to send him. So he may have made the team. So that just puts all the more pressure on someone like Sam Steele to improve his game quickly. I mean, you got Josh Mahura. It's a make or break year, dude. You got to do your job, man. But, yeah, they got a lot of question marks in those areas, and they're a developing team. So they are not ready to fight for a playoff spot, for sure. And not in the near future. I mean, it'll be nice to see Zagros and Drysdale there the whole season. See what they can do. But I don't think they're going to make that much of a difference to where they're going to be a playoff team. Even in this terrible division, I don't see it. Number 7, the San Jose Sharks. Now, they could possibly slip into a playoff spot. Now that the locker room cancer that is Evander Kane has been put on the non-playing status, that may improve this team significantly. Now, I've heard mixed reports, Tomas Hertl wanting to stay, Tomas Hertl not wanting to stay. I don't know what's happening with that. That's just all sorts of confusion. But he's in a contract year, so you gotta imagine he's gonna do something really good this year offensively. But having William Nylander play, or not Nylander, William Eklund, that's gonna help the offense if he can come over and provide what a lot of people thought he could. Still surprising he fell to, ironically, number 7. But you know what? I don't think it's gonna be enough. I mean, their defense is aging. Erik Karlsson is a shell of himself. Brent Burns is starting to take a step back. Vlasic has, they call him Pickle. He's turned into a pickle that's been left on the street for a week. That's what he looks like nowadays. Not physically looks like, just his play style. He just is not built for the speed game that it is currently anymore. So this defense is taking a step back. Goaltending, I'm still not buying in Adin Hill being the all-season number 1. James Reimer, I don't think is going to help at all. I mean, he's a solid backup, but Adin Hill goes down with injury or just does not produce the results. I don't see Reimer being able to do it all season either. And this team does not have a clear-cut number 1 goalie. They do not have the defense to accomplish things, and they don't have the forward depth to accomplish what they're going for. So that's why I'm saying here. But like I said, this team has surprised in the past, so maybe they sneak into a wild card or a playoff position. Who knows? This is a pretty weak division. Number 6, I had the Calgary Flames. I can't say they improved. I can't say that they got worse, but I don't see them being a playoff team. Where they're sitting right now, their defense is not the strongest. I don't see their goaltending being much better than last year, but you hope with what they pay their goalie that he's gonna do better. And offensively, Gaudreau, you gotta hope will just rebound after 2 weaker years. So hopefully, but hope doesn't give you the results necessarily. It's actual results. On to number 5, LA Kings. I think they will take a step forward. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they will take a step forward in their development and fight for that playoff spot. But I don't think ultimately they will get that playoff spot, obviously. Number 4 has Seattle. I don't think Seattle's making the playoffs. Their offense is very suspect to me. Their defense, I can see the defense. It's pretty good. Goaltending, pretty good. But the offense, I know when Vegas came in, they looked like they weren't going to be much of a threat, and they ended up being amazingly good. But I don't see Seattle being able to pull that off this time around. So, I mean, I think they'll barely miss the playoffs, but I think they will miss it. On to number 3, the Vancouver Canucks. I think they'll rebound this year. Honestly, I think last year was just a mixture of injuries, players not playing how they should. I think this year they've improved. I think they will be better, and I think it'll help that they're in a bad division too. Will definitely help their cause. So we'll have to see, but I think they will make the playoffs. Number 2, Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, this is a weak division, and I see them and Vegas as being the top 2 teams. I mean, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nurse is taking a step in his development for sure. I mean, last I heard, Oscar Klefbom is not back still. That hurts a bit. Their defense is still, to me, I still question the defense. I mean, it's better than it has been. They improved it a bit, but I still worry about it. And goaltending is my main concern. Mike Smith is a good, solid goalie, but Mike Smith is almost 40. I mean, every goalie, every player takes a step back at this age. That's normal. That's natural. I mean, you can't be a beast of a goalie into your 50s. I mean, look at how flexible they are now. Back in the 70s, 80s, or earlier when they were pretty rigid and just stood the whole time, yeah, you probably could have got away with it. Nowadays, it's hard to do at this age. I mean, you lose flexibility as you get older. That's just the natural order of things. Now, does everybody? No. Could he still stay pretty flexible? Of course he can. But if he goes down with an injury, their next best choice is Koskinen, and I don't think he can accomplish what they want. So you're going to see a lot of the same thing this year from this team, a lot of run and gun. You're going to see a lot of high offense with a lot of goals going in still, I have a feeling. Because their penalty kill, though, it's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. I'm not sure. I still feel like it's not the best. I know that's probably not accurate with the numbers, and that the numbers don't suggest that. I know. But I still feel like their penalty kill, anytime I watch them play, has not been good enough. But like I said, that just maybe in the games that I catch. Maybe they're just bad games for them, and maybe they're better at other times. But I mean, you got Mcdavid, you got Draisaitl. It's obviously you're going to score lots of goals. That's just part of it. So, moving on to number 1, the Vegas Golden Knights. I still think this team is definitely good enough to be here. I mean, if they lose Leonard for any reason, they may have more of an issue when it comes to goaltending. But offensively and defensively, this team is stacked. Hard to say this team's not going to win this fairly weak division. Central Division next. Number 8, the Arizona Coyotes. This team just said, fudge it, we're going for Shane Prince this year. Fudge everything. They got rid of dang near everything. And they still have more to get rid of, like Phil Kessel, who wants out. So, this team is not going to be a good team. Moving on. Next, I have Chicago. I know last year they had a good first half, and then they faltered. And I picked them to be towards the bottom of their division last year too. But I still feel this team has not necessarily improved. They have just stayed the same. I mean, having Kirby Dach all year, that should help. Hopefully he can take, I know I keep saying it's this next step in his development, but hopefully he can start taking stuff over. Jonathan Toews, having him all year, maybe that makes a difference. I mean, Seth Jones helps this defense, but I still have a hard time buying this team being a playoff team. I do. So, maybe in the next few years, but I don't think it's going to be this year. Number 6, Nashville. Losing Ryan Ellis hurts. But having Matt Duchene on the team probably hurts you more. Because the guy is a number 1 overall pick seeker. Him and Taylor Hall have an incredible ability. No matter where they go, that team is just not good. I mean, unless they get traded at the trade deadline, that's about the only time that doesn't happen. But Taylor Hall being on Boston, I think that would be a better option for him. At least hopefully they won't get number 1 overall. Oh, that would be a really bad year for that team. But Nashville, I think they're going to take another step back. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think it's going to be less of a chance this year than even last year when they barely snuck in. Number 5, St. Louis. Now, I think St. Louis is good enough. I think they're going to get the second wildcard spot. So, I think they have a good enough team to do it. I mean, will they make noise in the playoffs? I don't think so. But they'll make the playoffs. Number 4, Dallas Stars. Once again, if they are all healthy, this should be a good year. They were missing Radulov and Seguin almost all year last year. Seguin played 2 games, I think. Radulov, I think, played like 16. Joe Pavelski was a beast last year, and hopefully he can keep that up at his age. I think he's like 37 now. So, hey, hopefully he can keep going with those numbers. Number 3, I had the Minnesota Wild. Now, losing Ryan Suter, I think, makes his defense take a step back. The offense, I think, took a step forward. Goaltending, I think, will take another step forward, too. But I still see this team as a playoff team. They're going to be a good team, and it's going to be fun to watch them. So, keep an eye out. Number 2, Winnipeg Jets. Now, they're going to miss Mark Scheifele the first couple of games or so, still serving out that suspension for Luke Evans' hit in the playoffs. But this is going to be a stacked team. It's kind of ridiculous that they keep finding these late first round or mid to late first round gems like Cole Perfetti. They got lucky getting him where they did. They got lucky getting Chaz Lucius this last year where they did. I mean, this team's, they got a lot of talent. I mean, now will those guys play this year? Perfetti's most likely to play of any of them, but I believe they've already sent him down, so not this year. But still, this team, very stacked, offensively, defensively, Goaltending, Hellebuck, what can you say? Guy's just amazing. So this team's going to be good, no doubt about it, but they're not going to be as good as the Colorado Avalanche. This team will be a number 1 team. I think this will be your President's Trophy winner this year. I mean, this team is going to be good. I mean, did they take a step back with the offensive depth, losing Saad? I think so. Defensively, I still think they're pretty strong. I mean, losing Ryan Graves, I think, will hurt a bit, but I don't think this team is as good as last season as of now, but I still think they're the best team in this division and probably the best team in the NHL right now. So that's where we're at. Now on to playoff predictions. In the Atlantic, I have Florida versus Boston because Boston will get the last wild card slot, and I think Florida will be above Philadelphia, so last wild card slot will play Florida. So I see Florida winning that series in 6. I mean, I can see Boston sneaking one up and winning this one, but I think Florida's going to be a good team. They're going to make some noise this year, honestly. Next up, I see Toronto versus Tampa, and I see Tampa winning in 7. I know, Toronto fans, first round in 7 games. Why the hell does this keep happening to us? I don't see the killer instinct in this team. I have a hard time seeing them being able to accomplish it against the 2-time Stanley Cup champion, barring major injuries for Tampa right before. But I still see Tampa being good enough to beat Toronto in the playoffs this year. In the Metro, Phillies playing the wild card slot team, Washington. And I see Washington winning in 7. And that's just based off of the team's experience in the playoffs. So Washington's going to pull one up and just steal it from the Flyers. And that hurts me because, like I always say, they're like my second favorite team. Oh. But still, good year. So hopefully they'll keep taking that steps. And although next year is the other year, so next year they'll miss the playoffs. Next up is the revival of the New York rivalry. New York Islanders versus New York Rangers. I think this will be a fun series to watch and a war of a series. I have a feeling we'll see a Matt Martin, Ryan Reeves meetup at some point. But I still see the Islanders winning in 6 just because they've been a very good playoff team of late. And I think they will continue, especially against an inexperienced team like the Rangers. In the West, I see Vegas playing the second wildcard slotted Dallas Stars. Wait, do I have that backwards? Yeah, I do. It was supposed to be Vegas versus St. Louis. Sorry about that. Either way, I still see Vegas winning in 6 against either of those teams. Edmonton versus Vancouver. I see Vancouver pulling off an upset in 7 games against the Edmonton Oilers, just because the Oilers have not been able to prove anything in the playoffs thus far, and I don't see an improvement in that team to change that. And Vancouver seems to, at their last playoff appearance 2 years ago, have a way to sneak around teams. In the Central, like I said, I put this backwards. It's supposed to be Colorado versus Dallas. And I still see Colorado winning in 5. I mean, they're just such a good offensive team. I think Dallas is going to have a hard time against them. Winnipeg versus Minnesota. This is going to be a war of a series, and it's going to be fun to watch. But I see Winnipeg winning in 7. So, we have in the Atlantic, the final portion of the Atlantic Division playoff matchups. Florida versus Tampa. I see Florida winning in 6. Now, I know they lost to Tampa in 6 last year, but still, I see Florida taking that next step this year. And Tampa losing what they've lost, I see them taking a step back. I don't see Tampa winning the cup this year. I mean, getting into the second round, that would mean they've won 9 straight playoff rounds at that point. So that's nothing to shrug your shoulders about at all. In the Metro, we had the Islanders versus Washington. I had the Islanders winning in 6. I believe they beat Washington. Did they beat Washington last year? I think they beat Washington last year in the playoffs. But still, I see the Islanders winning in 6 in this series. Vegas versus Vancouver. I see Vegas winning in 6. Colorado versus Winnipeg. I see this one being a war as well, and Colorado winning in 7. In the conference finals, I see Florida versus the Islanders, and I see Florida winning in 7. It'll be a war, a defensive war for the Islanders, but eventually Florida's offense will come through. In the West, I see Colorado versus Vegas, and I see Colorado winning in 6, making a setup of a rematch of a mid-90s playoff series. Colorado versus the Florida Panthers. And this time around, I see Colorado winning again, but I see Florida actually winning some finals games. But I see Colorado winning in 7. This is going to be a team that's just going to overwhelm others, especially if McKinnon does not take a headshot from a Sharks minor league player this year. That would be a step up. But if that is the case and he's healthy all year, as well as the rest of his team, and they pick up some pieces at the deadline, this is going to be your number 1 team and going to be the champion, I think, this year. So that's what I got for you. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you agree, disagree, let me know. And other than that, make sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, and make sure to share the video. And I will see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.